Hello everybody, what is going on today? My name is Hungry Hippo MTG and I'm coming at you with another podcast. So for today's podcast, we're going to talk about how to make your Commander games better. Now, I have a list of tips that I'm going to share with you. You're more than welcome to use these tips, see what works, see what doesn't, and go from there. Okay, so diving in, the first tip that I have for you, and probably is one of the most important in my opinion, is to have a Rule Zero conversation with your play group. What that means, for those of you that do not know, is to basically talk about what your decks are doing. Now, a lot of play groups I know usually just say, oh, my deck is at a power level 8. They'll base it on a scale from 1 to 10. I don't like that just because everybody has a different spectrum or a different scale inside of their head. So my 8 might be different than my friend's 8 that is across the table. So you're better off asking, what does your deck do? Okay? And then that player will end up describing to you how their deck operates. Some of it, they won't go all in depth, obviously, but they'll let you know basically like the ways they're trying to win, that sort of thing. And then after that, you can make the choice whether or not you want to play with this person. Maybe you want to also have another conversation with them and ask them, hey, can you potentially use another deck as well to match my power level? Mine isn't as powerful as yours, it seems like. It seems like yours is very quick. So can you match my level? So that's why it's super important to have a Rule Zero conversation, because you don't want to waste their time and they don't want to waste your time as well. So it's important to talk about it. Now, next, diving into my next tip, is to find a good play group, okay? So what I mean by that is find a core group of people that you enjoy playing Magic with, okay? So obviously you don't want to continuously play with people that you dislike, so you need to find people that you enjoy. Maybe some people that you enjoy conversating with as well, because it's not all about the game. More importantly, it's about having fun, okay? Also, too, maybe you try finding a group of people that play your own play style as well. What I mean by that is based upon, going back to the last tip, the Rule Zero conversation, the power level that you're playing. Maybe you're looking for more competitive. Maybe you're looking for a more mid game. Maybe you're looking for a more low game. Whatever the case may be, it is important that you find a group of people that play your style as well. That way, everybody can have the most amount of fun and enjoy some Commander. All right, so for my next tip, you want to have decks at all power levels, okay? So this isn't a must-have, but it will allow you to be able to interact with more players, okay? So what I mean by that is, let's say you went to a local game store to play some Commander, and you join a pod, and the pod wants to play a high-powered game, but you don't have a high-powered deck, okay? So and what's nice is, what I mean by high power is you don't have to put a lot of money into this deck, okay? But it has to play at a higher level, all right? So if you had that higher power deck, you'd be able to play with this pod. You'd be more able to play with a whole bunch of different other play groups as well. And in turn, that'll be more fun as well, just because you get to interact with a whole bunch of different people. And knowing myself, you might be different than me, but I like to talk to a bunch of different people. I like to see how everybody plays. I don't just like interacting with the same pod all at once. So it's nice to be able to interact with different people. All right, so my next tip for you is to practice your decks, okay? So once you have your decks purchased, you are all set to go, all sleeved up, I want you to actually go through, maybe draw your hand to 7, and play a little game just with yourself, okay? That way, you can figure out how the pieces will work. Now, some of these pieces may not be able to work in the scenario that you're practicing in. Like, for instance, you can't really use a counter spell if you're not versing somebody that can actually play the counter spell since you're versing yourself. But anyways, know, for instance, let's say you had a tutor in there, and you need to look for a certain card. Know what card you're going to look for in different scenarios, okay? That way, in the end, it'll help speed up the game, okay? So, going along with this as well, diving more in depth, you want to plan your turns ahead of time, okay? So if you don't know how the pieces work, you won't be able to plan your turns ahead of time. But what I mean by this is that let's say you just passed your turn. You should already be thinking about your next turn, okay? So you should be looking at your hand, checking out the board state, actively thinking about that. I know a lot of players will go on their phones, they'll sort of zone out, and that just doesn't progress the game as quick as it can be, okay? Plus, it's really frustrating, I know from experience, whenever you get to another player's turn and they're just sitting there like, I don't know what to do. It's super frustrating because they had so much time beforehand to think about what they should be doing. You might as well use that time wisely, okay? We only get so much time. All right, and then moving on to my next tip is to have enough dice and tokens for the game. All right, so I guess what I mean by this is, let's say your deck creates a bunch of tokens. You want to make sure you have those tokens within the deck, or you have a way to represent those tokens fairly. You don't just want to, I know I said use dice as well, but you don't just want to use just dice to represent these tokens, because you can say this dice is my 1/1 soldier and this dice over here is my 2/2 knight. No. You want to have a way to accurately represent your board state, okay? And then you can be able to articulate it to the other players, because I know it is super frustrating to play and you're looking at somebody else's board and you're like, well, what is that pencil over there? What is that eraser? It is super duper frustrating whenever all that happens, okay? So please have enough dice, please have enough tokens to accurately represent your deck. That way it'll help speed up your games as well. All right, moving on. Another tip that I have for you is to download a life counter app. So what my play group does is we have a player bring their iPad, and they're able to basically put the right amount of players on that iPad. And what's cool is you can add different backgrounds for the cards that you use for your life total, which is super cool. There's also a spot in there that you can randomize it. Anyways, I'm getting off topic. So anyways, what this app does is basically accurately keeps track of everybody's life total. That's why I know the person across from me has this life, the person to my right has this life, the person diagonal from me has this life. It is super easy, and it makes the game go by so much quicker as well. Also, what I could recommend as well, let's say maybe you have one player that is on their phone a little bit too much, have them download the app and use their phone, okay? That way, they're not on their phone as often, so it kind of catches two birds with one stone, all right? So I'd recommend downloading a life counter app. That way, it'll be easy to see everybody's life total. All right, so moving on, my next tip is to laugh it off. So what this means basically is you got to have fun, okay? So, and you can't take stuff too much seriously, all right? So whenever you go into a game, let's say you're building up this board state and somebody just blows it up. Don't get frustrated at that person. Take a deep breath and then back away and just laugh it off. Be like, that was a nice play. Because in the end, they're trying to win the game just as much as you are trying to win the game as well. Most of the time, players aren't going to intentionally target you unless you give them a reason to. Maybe I'll do that in a future podcast. But anyways, players aren't going to target you, so you have to just laugh it off. In the end, it's a game, okay? What's nice is, after this game, you can shuffle up, play again, hopefully do a little bit better that time through. But don't take stuff too much seriously, okay? Because I've had it happen where stuff will get taken outside of the game, and it doesn't always end up well with that, okay? So it's just a game. Have fun, laugh it off. All right, and then the piggyback off of that last tip is to have fun, okay? It is really important to have fun, because the main reason why you're playing Commander is to enjoy it, all right? And I guess going along with this, making sure everybody else has fun as well, okay? I've heard of horror stories about where one player wants to have a lot of fun, maybe playing stacks or massive land destruction, and they cause the rest of the table not to have fun as well. Now, in reality, some people just, I guess, enjoy that. I personally don't, from my experience. So I've played stacks before, and it has come out in some horror stories. So I don't play those decks anymore. It's more important for me that my play group has fun and they're able to enjoy what they're doing, and I'm able to enjoy what I'm doing as well. So making sure the priority is to have fun and to make sure other people are having fun. All right, so thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I really appreciate for you listening and the support. If you happen to have any questions or any future ideas for other podcasts that you want me to do, please comment them down below. Thank you so much and have a great day.